Okay, pre-show shenanigans, not exactly shenanigans. We want to apologize for this being a delayed episode, especially during one of the busiest sports weeks, especially for the NFL.
I would say for
Grant had a
this
little incident.
podcast, it is
Grant,
arguably a top three most important week.
yeah, Grant had an incident the other day, and he bet on Chris Paul, lost a lot of money, and had to go sell a kidney. So
Yeah, it
we
was
had some
not.
some hospital incidents that needed to be made up, which is why this is being uploaded a day late, and the next episode will still be regularly scheduled. But you know, tough loss.
Yeah, I'll just quickly explain. Guys, rule number one of I would actually arguably just say all of sports, not even just sports betting, but just all of sports. Um, Never protect Chris Paul, never defend Chris Paul, never put your reputation on the line for Chris Paul. Okay, he will never deliver. He will never prove you right. Okay, you will always be wrong if you support Chris Paul. The only time ever, other than that Suns run, essentially, that Chris Paul was like a winner was that one Thunder series. When like Lou Dorter Chamber against the Rockets. And shit, I'm not even sure if they won that series now that I actually think. But that's like the only example I can really think of Chris Paul doing something notable. So yeah, no, I had to sell a kidney over the weekend to pay off my gambling debts. Chris Paul, wow, I don't know why this year I decided, you know what, they'll get
It has to be one
they'll
year.
get
It
a
has to be
dub.
one year.
You know, getting we're gonna make the playoffs. What am I talking about? No, Chris Paul's awful. Clay is unbelievably washed. Clay Thompson actually gave Chris Paul his best shout out for the amount of rings Chris Paul has. Clay matched that with the number of points he scored. Zero. Clay's officially washed. Warriors are broken up. Chris Paul, you are evil to me. And now, Everett, the rumor is that Chris Paul wants to go to San Antonio to play with Wemby. Don't ruin Wemby's playoff career too, Chris. Chris, get out of the way. Let these new superstars do their thing. But unfortunately, he isn't. I know he's not the reason the Warriors lost, but for the sake of my kidney, he is the reason that the Warriors lost. So I have nothing to say. It's atrocious. It's horrible. I mean, realistically, the problem even began with me paying attention to the NBA playoffs when it is draft week. So I apologize. This is completely my fault. This is all my fault. I apologize. The only reason the podcast didn't get uploaded is because of me. And for some reason, I decided to watch the playoffs over the weekend. So I apologize, Waterboy Faithful. We do not like to miss episodes at all, but we'll make it up. We are going to make it up today in our official 2024 or final 2024 NFL draft preview. But yeah, I'm so sorry, everybody. Never trust CP3. Anything else on your side you would like to share on behalf?
No, I was ready to go with my draft information and the fact it was delayed. It's tough. It's tough.
No, it's unacceptable and disgusting on my
That's
behalf.
that's the moments.
It will
That's the
not happen.
moments that the unnamed intern needs to step up and just come on the podcast. But that didn't happen.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
So
He's just so camera shy. You know, we can only try our best. But Everett, without further ado, bad clap. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very, very important episode of the Waterboy Podcast. Today is episode 215. I don't know if we're doing a 215/216.
no, it's
No,
215. I mean, unless you want
episode.
just one episode, you want one
No,
mega, we
no,
can
no,
do
no,
that. We
no,
can do
no, no,
that.
no.
I'm okay
Episode
with that.
215, the final 2024 NFL draft preview. I'm gonna give one shout out today. We're just gonna spend 30 seconds to 60 seconds on the MLB. We're gonna have to address just a little bit of the NBA playoffs, not involving Chris Paul. But this is just the NFL draft show, everybody. It's time to dive into the draft. But real quick, Everett, NBA, just Do the Lakers blow it up? I don't know
I
if
mean,
that's
look,
actually the solution
no,
because
you know what? I have said on several different occasions, I think AD is washed. I think that it's just not gonna work. And you know, I think that this is kind of proof to it. You know, there's a multitude of different things that went wrong, including AD's defense, which he's touted to be so phenomenal with. Um, and I think in general, if they're going to win, you know, you can't win with multiple 30-year-old players plus. Like, that's just not how it works. The NBA is going younger. LeBron is LeBron. You know, there's only so much you can do. And if they want to win, you have to keep going that way. And you know, that's the problem because they're not.
so this is the thing with AD that I'll say. He was crazy last night. Absolutely absurd. Okay. At one point, he was 13 for 14 with 32 points. Jokic at halftime, I believe, or not halftime, but like halfway through the second quarter, Jokic had 6 shot attempts. And at the start of the game, everyone was kind of talking about how AD's doing a tremendous job on offense, forcing Jokic to defend him very tightly and closely. And in the first half, Jokic wasn't as aggressive on offense. He was passing up, not really being too aggressive. Second half, AD picks up some bad fouls. He gets a foul early in the third, and then it just an awful illegal screen to pick up his fourth with like 4 minutes left in the third. Then they had to take AD out real quick, and what happens? Jokic goes to town, all right? Jokic goes to work with AD off the court. And by the time AD comes back in, now it's like a 6-point game. And this team just can't hold on to leads. I blame Darvin Ham a lot for this. Darvin Ham reminds me a lot of Brandon State, okay? He just doesn't know how to manage. He doesn't know when to call timeouts. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he seems to always put his players just in suboptimal positions. And it makes no sense. Yeah, like I saw LeBron calling the majority of timeouts in that last game.
He's done that for a while, to be fair. He has done that for a while.
He probably should be doing it, but it's like if you have a 20, 22, 23-point lead and the Nuggets quickly reduce that to a 10-point lead in about 6 possessions, you need to call a timeout. You can't just you need to call a timeout, Darvin. What are you doing? It's atrocious. I don't know how Darvin Ham
he was hired to be the fictitious pseudo coach for the Lakers because it's actually been LeBron coaching the whole time. Clearly working so well.
No, it's awful what Ham's doing. And the last thing I just want to say about that is
they replaced one pseudo coach in Frank Vogel with another pseudo coach in Darvin Ham. This is the same dude. It's the same.
And you could even say at the start that Luke Walton was kind of like what Luke Walton did to get a starting job. He filled in interim for Steve Kerr with the God Squad Warriors. Okay, the greatest group of players you could possibly have as a coach. And I think he went like 18-0 when he was an interim. Everyone's like, he deserves to be. It's like, dog, he had the prime Golden State Warriors, guys. Like that, it's not a fair comparison to judge him with that. So yeah, I'll just last little thing I want to say. AD and D'Lo were unreal. Everett, I think at one point D'Lo was 6 for 7 from, and they were having 23 point. At one point a 23-point lead. Jamal Murray was having an off night until the end when he hit the game winner. But those are the games you cannot lose because the Lakers lost that game. Now I don't know how they win a single. Like, I don't know. I don't know how they win a game. I would say it's a sweep. I'd want to say they can pick up a game, but I don't know. Like the formula to beating them is
I think they get one in Staples. I think they lose 4-1. They get one in Staples.
Game 4, true gentleman sweep. True gentleman sweep. But yeah, that's kind of NBA time. And then the Knicks. Oh my God, they crazy run to end the game. Hit 2 threes down, I believe 5 points with 70 seconds left, minute 10. Hit a 3, steal, kick out to DiVincenzo, another 3, take the lead them. So Sixers dead. loser city, Everett. I know you like that. Philly's a loser town. And
I do like that.
and hey, my prediction, Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. My biggest concern was getting by the Sixers round one. It's looking nice. Looking nice. We'll see. We'll see. But that was my NBA update.
Yeah, to the part that I care much more about.
I would give the MLB shout out, but screw that.
No, don't do that to me. All right, I've been sitting here. I've been waiting to go. I've been helping you with your mock for the past hour.
Hey, but remember, TikTok's done now. So
yeah, your TikTok's done. But
hey, only one of us has access to the beautiful mystery machine generator. So just for content, for quality of video, we need to do that. We need to do that. But here we go.
I feel like that should remove one of my required TikToks for the week. Anyways, okay, let's get in the NFL draft.
Sunday, right, makes up for Sunday.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
Look, there's a lot of different things. The draft will be coming out tomorrow when this is uploaded, and obviously there'll be a episode on that day as well. And there might be some last second news, some last second alterations, but I don't know how many people will be paying attention to us on that day. All right. But for general, there's a lot of different things that could go into this, a lot of which has to do with those top 4-5 picks. Okay. And that could alter the entire landscape of this draft. So we have a couple different mocks for a couple different situations, depending on ways things go, right? So there's all of which kind of involves my team. And my team is the catalyzing factor for the way that this draft goes. So let's play the quarterback carousel, Grant. Let's have a little fun with this first before we get into anything else, right?
I like fun. Let's have fun.
Yeah. So first of all, Caleb Williams locked to 1. We don't care about that. Jaden Daniels, I'm going to say, is about a 98% chance he goes at 2. So let's not care about Jaden Daniels.
I'm with you.
Whatever. So let's look at Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and then the rest of the guys, right? First of all, there's contrary information that we've seen throughout you posted throughout the week as things happen leading into the draft anyways, where it's like, hey, JJ McCarthy might fall all the way out of the first round. He might go pick 2. He might go right outside the top 10. He might go pick there's 7 different scenarios for JJ McCarthy here. In reality, there's too many quarterback needy teams that are going to trade up. This is not a Will Levis vibe. You're not getting a Will Levis vibe.
No, Will Levis was a really late riser last year. Okay. Yeah. Like it is not that, like, if you were going to give a quarterback this year a Will Levis comp, maybe Michael Penix, but they're a Bo Nix, but Nix. There's not real.
It probably is Penix, and that situation. It probably is Penix, even though he had a better season than Levis.
Not going top 10.
But look, all right. The whole thing here is surrounded by what happens with JJ McCarthy, because my expectation is he's going to go within the top 6 picks, no matter what.
Yeah,
right?
I think Giants at the latest.
So if he goes 6, let's say the Vikings trade up, they get May, he goes, and then the Giants end up getting him at 6.
You hear that fraud alert?
I did not hear that fraud alert.
Loud fraud alert for JJ.
McCarthy. To which thing? To JJ McCarthy?
But
to the Giants or
JJ? You said JJ McCarthy, and I heard.
Oh, woo! I was curious if it's JJ McCarthy to the Giants or JJ McCarthy to
just JJ.
Just
McCarthy.
JJ. Okay. Yeah, to everybody, take that with a grain of salt. Maybe I don't want to be going to the Vikings anymore. But look, let's say here's the first scenario: Drake May goes to the Vikings at 3. They trade with the Patriots. JJ goes at 6. To the Giants, okay? Now the Patriots are at 11, Broncos are at 12, Raiders are at 13. Those are the next set of teams. My expectation, if this happens, Michael Penix is a Patriot. Michael Penix is a Patriot at pick 11.
With Patriots trading down?
With Patriots trading down to pick 11 and 23. I also think that no matter what, I think that the Broncos are inexplicably linked to Bo Nix at this point in time. I would be very surprised if Bo Nix was not a Bronco at the end of the day. I'm expecting it to be round 1. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's round 2. But my expectation.
Have like 20 what?
Bronco. What do you mean?
20 what?
Broncos are 12.
Oh, for some reason I thought they were in the 20s. Okay.
You thought
Ooh,
they were
you
that
think
good
Knicks
last
at
year?
No, I thought they had like traded and moved around.
No, maybe they do. Maybe they do trade back because if Michael Penix is on board, the only competition the Broncos would have for Bo Nix is the Raiders. And at that point in time, I don't know if the Raiders are interested enough in Bo Nix to pick him because don't forget, Aiden O'Connell played very well at the end of the year. They just signed Gardner Minshew. They have options there. I don't know if they're going to be entertained enough to get Bo Nix in the first round at that point in time.
For some
So
reason, I
there's a
can really
chance that
see Bo Nix in a Raider uniform. I don't know why.
well, I see a lot of players in a Raiders uniform, Grant.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Most players probably would look good in a Raiders uniform. That's coming from a Chargers fan, even I have to admit.
But look, there's a situation there that if that's it, then the Broncos trade back and they still end up with Bo Nix. But that's that situation, right? Where you have Drake May, JJ, Penix, you have all of them go within the first 13 picks, right? Here's the next situation. The Patriots stay, Vikings trade up and get JJ at 4. You now have the Patriots at 3 with Drake May. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is at pick 12 and 13, you have both available in Bo Nix and in Michael Penix. In that scenario, I think Bo Nix goes before Michael Penix. Bo Nix is still with the Broncos. Okay. I do also think that there's if this happens, right? If Michael Penix is there at 13 and the Raiders take a cornerback or somebody else, it's not Michael Penix, he could slide to the very end of the first round, if not out of the first round. Because look, towards this, there are no teams really that are going to be interested in a quarterback outside of maybe the Rams. So, like, there's not going to be an option there. There's not going to be anybody who's going to take him. Maybe somebody trades back up and gets into there, but I doubt it at that point. So. And the last option is if the Vikings trade up or the Giants, whatever, trade up to 5. If that happens, JJ goes at 5. Your team ends up with 2 picks. You probably end up getting Fuaga and Nate Wiggins. I have you getting a wide receiver here, but to each their own. And then you end up still having, I think that 12 and 13 still are Michael Penix and Bo Nix in this scenario. But like I said, I don't know if Michael Penix ends up going to the Raiders. I don't know about that. So there's a couple different situations there. The other thing that I was thinking about was the other trade-ups. Well, let's talk about other trade-ups. Okay. Let's take the quarterback aspect out of this. So let's talk about nothing that's been linked to teams trading around for the quarterback. So the Chargers trades, whatever. Like, we're not going to be talking about that in this situation. Okay. First thing, I think that there is a decent chance that the Colts trade up to pick 9 with the Bears.
Okay.
I like that specifically because the Bears still can end up getting Latu or an edge inside whatever they want defensive wise at 15. And that gives the Colts the ability to draft either Brock Bowers or Rome Odunze at 9, both of which offensive help, which could completely alter the rest of the draft.
At 9 to Colts. Oh my God.
Wow. Is that a good oh my God? Or is that a
that's a league breaking oh my God, potentially.
But here's
those
the thing.
Skill guys are crazy if they got
Odunze or whoever the Colts take, right? There's now an interesting thing for how that affects multiple different positions because at 10, let's say Bowers is there at 10, right? Do the Jets have a more of an affinity for Brock Bowers or do they have an affinity for Fuaga, a tackle or somebody? It's the same thing with Rome Odunze. If Rome Odunze falls to 10, are they going to go tackle? Are they going to just take Odunze? Like, so there's a couple different things. Is somebody going to trade? Because Rome Odunze shouldn't be at 10. Like, that shouldn't be something that happens.
Be there.
So that's one situation with the Bears. I've done that in most of my mocks. I think that that's a pretty, not a certainty. It's never a certainty, but I do think that it's a very likely option to happen. Alternately, let's look at the Bills, right? The Bills are a very wide receiver needy team. They don't have a wide receiver 1 right now. It's Curtis Samuel. So I think that
Shakir?
Look, I mean, they're at pick 28 right now.
I think they got Mac Hollins. Like, they got a good little room.
They're at pick 28 right now. Here are the teams that might draft a wide receiver ahead of them, depending on the situation. The Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Steelers, and the Dolphins all might draft wide receivers ahead of them. They need to trade up. There's no, if they sit until 28, they're going to end up getting Lad McConkey or Troy Flank. That is not an indicative, this is the wide receiver one of our team. They might end up being that guy, but it's not like out of the draft.
No,
like, this
like,
is
you want to
the
take that
like,
risk? You tell me.
Right. So not saying they're going to be bad. They're great receivers, but it's not like a immediate, this guy is the wide receiver one. They could be like, this guy is maybe wide receiver one, maybe two, maybe two, right? So I think they trade up with the Rams. I have done that in multiple different and multiple different mocks. I really like that. The Rams, they have different options that they could go with there. However, I do think that a lot of those interior defensive line guys that they might like are going to be off the board at that point. They do also like offensive line guys. They need offensive line help. I think that there might be some availability there at 28, or they could trade up a little bit after that to get one of those guys. I think the Bills trade up with the Rams or around there to get ahead of the Steelers, because the Steelers are wide receiver needy too, and get Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas is their guy. I personally do not like A.D. Mitchell. I don't know if you saw this stuff come out about A.D. Mitchell, where he is a pain in the ass. He is apparently diabetic, doesn't take care of himself when he is. The fact that he's diabetic, like, he needs somebody else taking care of him because he can't do it by himself, apparently. There's a lot of problems that come with that. And they just got rid of a wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, who had a lot of problems. So, maybe that is a perfect fit for the Steelers for A.D. Mitchell. I mean, maybe that is kind of their vibe, right?
Yeah, so I mean, Steelers have a tendency to take the most diva wide receivers possible. So
yeah. But it's kind of when we get into these later parts of the round, like, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know how a lot of these picks are going to fall. I do think what's interesting is to see where our interior defensive guys go, and Byron Murphy and Jerzon Newton. I do also think it's going to be interesting to see where the tackles fall, because this is a pretty deep tackle class. And a name that's been coming up a lot lately, as being a first-round guy is Guyton out of Oklahoma, which would be a surprise because, look, in the first round alone, we have Joe Alt, we have Puaga, we have Fontenot, we have Fashanu, Mims, Latham, Graham Barton out of Duke, and now Guyton.
There's so
many tackles. And by the way, I think Fontenot, I'm expecting him to be a guard. I think he's going to play for the Seahawks. I have him linked pretty heavily to him. He's a tackle from Washington. He's probably going to play guard in the NFL. But
love that.
It's also like
that Washington Seattle.
How far does Fashanu fall? Like, does Fashanu fall at all? Like, how does that affect their draft? Because right now I have him falling in a couple of these, in a couple of different one of these drafts. The alternative option here is if you guys end up trading back and you take a tackle, then maybe they all do fit in, because maybe the Saints take Fashanu now instead of taking an edge rusher or something else that they would have done normally. Okay. So, there are a couple different options, and in general, like, a lot of these
Saints
teams
kind of linked to like Latu or Jared Verse edge there at 14.
I have them taking a tackle in general. I do think that they might go Latu.
Because Ramchick's done, right? Or about to be?
I don't know if he's done. He's just consistent. He has chronic injuries.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's going to be interesting. Like, the other thing is, I think that if the Giants don't trade, the Giants stick at 6. Let's say that JJ's off the board. Let's say the Vikings beat them, whatever happened, right? Yeah. They're going to go wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. Unless for some reason the Marv is there, if you guys screwed up. Joe Alt will go to the Titans.
Oh yeah.
And I think in general,
I don't think it's possible for him to go.
I think in general, either way, if I am either the Chargers or the Giants, I wouldn't draft Joe Alt either way, because I have other needs. And, you guys are playing bully ball. So that, from what I heard, Harbaugh wants Marv, but the GM is pounding his fists at the table for Joe Alt.
Okay. The way I think about it is that it's like from a Harbaugh perspective, like if Harbaugh takes an Ohio State player, then I just need to know what his game planning was for Marv. Because I bet it was fucking unreal the amount of game prep he did for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I feel like if anything, Jim Harbaugh's may arguably know more about his Big Ten opponents than some of his own guys. He might feel a little biased towards his guys, and when he thinks of
now an interesting situation. Here's an
like,
interesting situation for you to think about.
Okay.
Let's say in this hypothetical world, Cardinals stay, they take Marv.
Yeah.
Let's say you stay, you take Neighbors.
Okay.
Now you have the Giants.
What do they
Let's
do?
say in this hypothetical world, the Giants take Romo Dunze. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's play this game.
Going 3 straight wide receivers. I love it.
3 straight. Okay. In this situation, right? You know what? I'm gonna work on this as I'm talking through this. Right?
I need
some visualization. I need some visualization.
What do
and let's say
Titans?
Drake May has gone at 3. Let's say May has gone at 3.
Take Joe Alt still, right?
So, okay, Titans now take Alt. Now here's the interesting thing. I also think that no matter what, there's been conversations about, hey, Byron Murphy might get drafted before Dallas Turner. I think that's smoke and mirrors. I think that's horseshit. I think that's Dallas crazy. Turner to the Falcons, because now they're keeping their pick, some fucking bullshit.
Awful.
Falcons is a lock. I think that makes way too much sense. I like Dallas Turner to the Falcons. It just, it just works way, way, way too well. Now here's the interesting thing. This is where things get interesting. We are at pick 9.
Bears.
Okay. Bears pick 9.
With Odunze gone.
Odunze is gone. They're not, I originally have not had them with Odunze in general. But Brock Bowers is there. This is the interesting thing. We're like, hey, Colts straight up. Bowers is there because I think that at that point in time, right, maybe the Jets snipe him at 10. Okay.
What are Bears specifically looking for, just kind of position wise? They're going for what, like edge here?
They need an edge. They need inside defensive line help. Technically corners too, but it's mostly defense. So they could trade back. They have more than enough options. I like Laiatu Latu to them a lot. And they could go there at 9.
Hate that for you.
But it's gonna get interesting if in some world Fuaga is gone before 10.
Huh. At 9?
And because that's the thing. There's an alternate thing people have been talking about here, that the Bears might want to reinforce this offensive line and now have 2 premier tackles with Darnell Wright on one side and Fuaga on the other. So let's play that.
Caleb likes to scramble. He likes, got a block.
Fuaga is gone. Bears stay at 9. Now you're at 10 with the Jets. Okay. What do the Jets do? Do the Jets take Brock Bowers? Do they take Bowers? They need inside defensive help. Do they trade out? Now, this is where things get really interesting, Grant. Let's play this game. The Broncos.
Trade up with Jets?
Trade up with the Jets.
Little 2-pick swap? Or 2-pick
and they
move
take
up?
J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings now are left at 11. Empty-handed. They don't have a quarterback. We're just here. And Brock Bowers is still on the board. Granted, the Vikings take Brock Bowers.
Okay, hear this out. You have a TJ Hawk.
Who's injured right now.
True. So start of the year, Brock Bowers can play tight end. This is what I'm kind of thinking, okay? Obviously, a lot of it comes down to using him correctly, obviously. But in my eyes, let's say, and you tell me what you think, but I kind of think 11 personnel with TJ at tight end playing inline on the line. JA and J Jet is outside and Brock Bowers in the slot.
So you play him more like a wide receiver?
60% of Brock Bowers' routes last year came from the slot.
It's just if this somehow happens, which is very unlikely, but we want to go over all
Let's
scenarios.
have
This is the
fun.
Waterboy
Let's have
way.
fun. Let's have
We're having
fun.
fun here, right?
This is fun. I
I
think
think if this
Bowers
is the
is a
situation,
game-breaking type player
if
if
this
used
is the
properly.
situation,
Don't treat him like a tight end.
if this is the situation here, Vikings trade back with the Colts. Colts come and get Brock Bowers at 11.
Yeah, I think you would have to trade back.
That's just what would have to happen.
And you still have 23. You're okay if
And
Penix or
we'll
Nix
take their
goes
second.
at 13 to the Raiders. You'll take whoever's left at 23. Maybe both are still there at 23, and then you're like, well, we can.
Well,
wait.
now here's the thing, right? Remember, I said this. I put a TikTok up the other day. I said I like I was going through quarterback fits, right? I was like, I like all these fits for quarter, no matter what, best quarterback fits the Vikings, but I can't put every quarterback in the Vikings. Last quarterback I went through was Michael Penix. I said my best fit for Michael Penix is the Patriots. And I said that because, they need a developed quarterback. They need somebody who is kind of experienced things. They need that kind of sense for the offense, not a Mac Jones, not a whatever the fuck they need somebody. I mean, the only other quarterback they've had is a Tom Brady, so I can't really say anything else.
No, yeah, I mean, since Tom Brady, it's it's hard to fill Tom Brady's shoes.
So that's what they need, right? But the other thing that I said was one team that I would not be absolutely shocked by if this happened. I don't think it's going to happen. It's probably a sub 5% chance it happens. But the New York Jets taking Michael Penix. I absolutely love that. And the reason I say
like
that,
Green Bay all over again with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that they don't know what Aaron Rodgers' deal is, but tell me, what kind of offense does Aaron Rodgers like to run? What kind of throws does Aaron Rodgers like to make? What kind of throws does Michael Penix like to make?
Well, Aaron's crazy. Aaron's ridiculous.
I can't say that for Michael Penix, but both are. It is a long vertical offense. That's what they do. It's a vertical offense. That is a great situation for Michael Penix, but I'm not saying that that's going to happen. So I picked 12, right? Now you have your tackle that they could have taken is gone. The tight end, their wide receiver that the Jets would have taken is gone. What do? I mean, at this point in time, you go either Fashanu, you snipe Fontenot from the Seahawks, who would draft them later, or you end up going on the inside on defensive line. Which changes the whole path of the draft.
Let me take a gander real quick. Take a quick little gander.
In this situation, you don't know how long Aaron Rodgers has. They just signed 2 veteran tackles. You don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck about the next quarterback. We don't care. If Aaron Rodgers goes out, those tackles go out. We're done anyways. We take Byron Murphy at 12. That's who the Jets take at 12. Okay. Now here's the interesting thing. This is where we start getting pressure. Let's say in this hypothetical scenario, the Raiders take Michael Penix. There's now 1 quarterback left in the first round. 1 first-round quarterback left. Bo Nix.
Nixon.
Vikings. Huh?
Joseph Nixon. Yes. I love that his full document, government birth certificate name is Bo Nix. It's 5 letters long. That is his name.
It's just a curious situation to me now. Do the Vikings take Bo Nix, Grant? Does that happen? Do you just say, fuck that, we are going to get a quarterback next year? And do you go 2 different positions on defense in the first round here? Keep in mind, the Saints are at pick 14 right now. Vikings would now have the next pick at 15.
I think I'd hate it for you, but I kind of feel like you got to take Nix. Actually, well, this thing, if you don't take Nix, Sammy D the starter?
Sammy D's the starter either way. Okay. He's starting either way. Do you think Drake May or JJ McCarthy would be starting week 1?
No. I'm talking though, week 5, week 6.
I don't think that the quarterback is probably starting for the Vikings either way, unless Sam Darnold is horrendous. My question is just, in this hypothetical world, right? The only option is Bo Nix. Okay, we're getting the part where teams could go for quarterbacks, but they probably won't. Do you go and get a guy like Terry and Arnold? Do you get a guy like Jerzen Newton, right? Like, do you do one of those things?
I think Newton's a game changer type of player.
Do you do one of those things and risk not having a quarterback? I do just think, in general, it's just going to be interesting to see like no consent. There's been no consensus mock in general. Like last year, there's consensus guys. There's consensus guys. Like everybody knows, everybody has Jaden Daniels 2, Caleb Williams 1. After that, it is a fucking shit show. Okay. I think, and from what I've seen, okay, there's one of 2-3 places Fuaga goes. There's like this mock I'm looking at right now has JC Latham going pick 7. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that? That is wild. There's also very different discrepancies here in the way that players are ranked. Like a lot of people have Cooper DeJean as the best cornerback in this draft. A lot of other people have Terry and Arnold. A lot of other people have Quinyon Mitchell. Like I think that Quinyon Mitchell and the Jaguars are inexplicably linked together. I think that if they go cornerback, that's the guy that they go to, no matter whether or not DeJean or Arnold are there. I do also think that though, like they could all be available at, I don't know, let's say they'd all probably be available at pick 10, pick 9, whatever. We could see another team go and take it. We could see the Saints or the Raiders take any of those guys. Like there's no consensus.
One thing I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at Cincinnati Bengals at 18, what they could possibly do.
I have had them connected. There's like somebody running on the house above me. I have them connected to interior defensive guys. However, with that said, if either of Newton or Murphy are gone by that point, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm assuming that they go cornerback. That's my assumption. Maybe they go wide receiver.
Which would be hilarious. Brian Thomas.
To be fair,
LSU.
T. Higgins does want to get traded. But it's interesting in general. And, the way that a lot of these players are graded out, a lot of guys who are first round talents are going to get pushed down boards because of people drafting for need versus drafting for best available. And in some situations, it's both. But, there's going to be teams who are very wide receiver needy that might start taking these guys that are fringe wide, round 1. And it might push some other players down the board that shouldn't be there normally. And it's going to get interesting when we have, Jackson Powers might end up getting pushed out of the first round.
I like him
center.
A lot.
He's probably the best center. I think that he would be great for the Lions. But, that's where it gets interesting. And then you're going to have teams like the Chargers or, the Cardinals or somebody. Well, let's say the Chargers specifically are in a situation like if you trade with the Vikings where you have the ability to get a wide receiver and you still might not do it. And then you get one in the first, like that might push everything away. And you have to remember then there's the Panthers that have picked 33 that are going to take a wide receiver and still continue to push it. Because no matter what, the Panthers probably are going to take a wide receiver. Let's be honest here. The Panthers are going to probably take a wide receiver. They're probably going to take like Troy Franklin. So
on behalf of Ladd McConkey, I hope he's not a Panther for his sake.
So that's just where there's a lot of interesting things going on
Carolina,
here.
Just do everyone a favor, draft Keon Coleman. Just help us all out. Just get it out of the way.
I do think that there are going to be situations and scenarios that are going to play out that we are not expecting. And, we can talk about one of these scenarios, which is very unlikely, but we need to give it credit where credit is due now. Antonio Brown has been talking about a lot of different things lately. And I'm saying that not in the I'm batshit crazy sense, like he is.
Well, we're talking.
I'm saying that in the news reporting,
account, CTESPN.
Yeah, he has gotten a decent amount of information correct.
Got
one
Russ
thing that he's been
Steelers.
saying. One thing that he's been saying a lot is Herbert to the Vikings. Now,
Yes.
in this situation, Grant, there is no better situation, no other time for that to happen than right now when your team is kind of desolate. You're going into a rebuild. They didn't give Herbert the extension. That extension was signed before he came there. And now to get rid of him would take a lot of money to do.
Yeah.
And the reason why, by the way, this probably doesn't happen, even if the Vikings want it, is if they do that, they probably can't play, they probably cannot pay Justin Jefferson. That's the problem. So, because the whole theory is, you get a rookie quarterback that kind of kicks the can down the road. And by the time you need to extend them, you have enough cap room for both. But let's play the game where the cap doesn't exist. This is the one time where, unless somebody jumps them, and let's say this would be a draft day trade, that is what would happen. Yeah. And they would still be, you would have picks 5, 11, 23 in next year's first and probably some other change. It would just be very interesting for that to happen. And I think that would, if that happened, that would immediately put the Vikings in, what do you say, better than last year? Would you higher than last year?
Yeah, if you had Justin Herbert, yeah, you're definitely better than last year.
So
Justin Herbert to Justin Jefferson? Oh my God. What the hell? I will just say right now, if the Chargers trade away Justin Herbert, they would take on a dead cap of $44 million and would be $14 million under the cap.
Yeah. I think that there
unless they waited till June 1st, but they wouldn't trade Herbert post June 1st. Like,
you just hold on to him. This is a gentleman's agreement handshake. Just we'll get you him.
It's fun to consider. Like, this is what I think. I don't doubt this. Without question, Antonio Brown has many friends in the NFL. Okay, he definitely has sources that other people do not have. I'm not.
No, I would agree with that statement.
With this, and okay, holy shit, I'm going back now. Okay, Russ to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If anyone would find out a Steelers move, it would be Antonio Brown. Okay, I'm now putting 2 and 2 together. I'm not too impressed by that. I am impressed by him finding out the Broncos uniforms. That's interesting to me how exactly he got that. And he had one other big move recently, like something else. Uniforms. He had something that caught my eye, and I was just like, oh God, he got that right too. I'm trying to think. It may have been a different sport. If it was a different sport, now he's really gaining credit.
Well, let's not go that way.
I would say he's more credible than a lot of the reporters I see online. Ironically.
That's not why I was saying that. But I don't
the Diggs trade. I don't
doubt that he has connections, but I do doubt some of the credibility when it comes to something like that.
What I think now agents or whoever are realizing like, oh, AB doesn't actually like think about it. Like if he just hears any rumor, he's just gonna say it, and it would not have shocked me if someone from the Chargers or maybe someone from the Vikings leaked to AB that trade might be happening.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely possible.
This is another thing, and this is coming from Bill Belichick, who's like a notorious awful drafter. So take this with a grain of salt. But according to Mr. Belichick, he believes that most pre-draft smoke screens you see right now don't really put much value in it. But whenever you hear draft rumors start coming out 12 hours or less before the draft, buy into it. If something comes out within 12 hours of that first pick, that's noteworthy. That's what Belichick was saying on Pat McAfee, I think. And so that's something I'm looking into. That makes me wonder, like, I'm going to Chargers here, but they've been going back and forth. Like Harbaugh in his media rooms, he's talking about offensive line. Joe Ortiz, when he's in the meeting rooms, he's talking about we're looking at best player available. 5th pick is a very great pick. Like, I'm not trading down unless I clearly win the trade. So it's like they're sending conflicting signals. Shit, it wouldn't shock me if both things that they're saying, none of them are
Now,
true.
now, look, the other thing that I will say, I've been discounting a lot because I just do not think it's going to happen, is the Giants being the alternate team that wants to trade up. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. Apparently, the Raiders tried to trade for the second overall pick today, even after they were like, "You're not giving up the second overall pick."
Washington will not give up that pick right now. Like that's just
but
crazy. If
the Giants, they could give up pick 6 and their second rounder. Maybe I doubt it'd be more than that, unless they're really
move up to.
Well, here's the thing. Let's put it this way: the Vikings are so desperate for a quarterback right now. It is 11, 23, a future first, maybe like a third, something like that, right?
This year, third.
Probably next year. If the Giants want to match that, they'd have to do first this year, second this year, and first next year, bare minimum, which I really doubt that they would do that for a quarterback at that point in time. Because if you're asked this year, which they will be, you can get a quarterback next year. Like it's I guarantee you, Quinn Ewers or Shedeur probably are going to be about the same level as JJ McCarthy entering this season. It's about, or Bo Nick, like it's going to be the same deal. So, I think it makes more sense to not. And that's why that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they're going to be willing to give up as much. But in the hypothetical sense that that does happen and they outbid, it's the same deal, essentially the same value. It'll be interesting to see if the Cardinals, because it would have to be the Cardinals, the Giants wouldn't trade up one spot, I doubt. And I doubt that the Chargers would go back one spot when you can get 2 first rounders this year instead of a first and a second.
And it's also just like Chargers, Giants. It's like we're not drafting the same players.
Yeah. So Marv and Neighbors, if that's the situation.
Sure,
but the whole thing that the argument was, hey, you know what? Let's say that the value is basically even statistically. Would the Cardinals more so want the additional first this year to make it 3, or would they care more about, hey, we might move down to 6, it's only a 2-spot difference, and then we still might be in the contention for Marv, or at bare minimum we can get Neighbors? That's the question. And the only response that I have to that is, one, are the Giants willing to match whatever shitload of picks the Vikings are going to give up? And 2, I don't know if you've seen this clip going around, but the Cardinals released a clip of their GM wheeling and dealing last year. And for anybody who doesn't remember, the Cardinals had, I believe, the 3rd pick. They traded back to pick 12, getting a first round in the process, and then they traded up to go and get Paris Johnson at 6, I believe, maybe 7. But when that happened, they didn't lose any first round picks. They still have that additional first round pick this year. Like that's how it worked. So in my mind, let's say you're the Cardinals, right? And that's their mindset. They like to do those kind of things. You could go back to 11, get 23, get next year's first, all of that, and trade back up. You can trade back up to pick 7, pick 8, whatever you want to do. Like you could still get Romo Dunze. Like that is something that is on the table. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, guess what? You can go get any substantial amount of different players, including wide receivers later in the draft. Like, let me see what I have here. I have them in that situation. They get Terry and Arnold at 11. They go and get Newton at 23, and they get Ladd McConkey at 27. Like, there's a substantial difference in value and how much you care about getting those players versus otherwise. And on top of that, like in this situation that I have here, Romo Dunze went 10 to the Jets, right? It could go 9 or 10. But they could trade up to 9 with the Bears. They could trade up to 8 with the Falcons, because I'm assuming Dallas Turner might still be available if in that situation. Like, there are multiple different things that could play out. And if they did that, it's only a minor pick difference. They might be able to do a first and a third and move up. So that's the thing that you have to keep in mind with a lot of these GMs, because they have different tendencies to do things. And in Monty's case, who's the GM of the Cardinals, he likes trading around. He likes getting assets for the future. And additionally, he likes making those money moves to move around. And he's essentially, I don't remember what the dude's name is, but the guy from Draft Day, that guy, which, by the way, if you're not
Evan
watching
Costner,
Draft Day,
I know the actor.
if you're not
Sonny.
if you're not
Sonny,
watching
his name
that,
was Sonny.
if you're not if you're not watching that either tonight or tomorrow, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, also, if you go back to our draft preview last year, you could hear my review of draft day when I watched it for the first time last year. I'm looking at a fun little Cardinals mock here. I'm not exactly sure how they get these picks, but it's a trade back, and they end up getting Terrion Arnold, Latu, and Brian Thomas. I'm not sure how they'll end up getting 2 additional firsts. I don't really know how that is possible.
They already have pick 27.
Oh,
that they already have that from last year.
Okay.
And that would mean that they probably traded with the Vikings to get that 23, the 23 pick.
Hey, I mean, that's a little interesting too. Cardinals could really hook up here. They could address a lot of positions in need.
But just like that's what I'm saying. You could do that, and then you still have another. You know how many? Just think about it. If you're building a team, Marvin Harrison Jr. fantastic. That is a phenomenal player. That is going to be the best wide receiver in this draft class, no matter what. But if you're building a team, think about having, instead of 2 first rounders this year, 1 first rounder next year, you now have 3 first rounders this year to hit on players and 2 next year. That is 5 first round picks to make a difference on your roster. That could be an entire starting offensive line. Like, you could just, like, that is for reference what that example is. So, like, if that's me, my GM philosophy, I would have a hard time wanting to part with Marv, knowing the situation, but still knowing how deep this wide receiver class is. That might be an undeniable deal just for the building aspect of the future of my team. Because there are so many more possibilities for that. And you don't know how substantial a player in next year's draft might, that might make a huge difference.
I would say another thing that I've been noticing is that this is a lot of Chargers fans specifically, but the fan base for the most part wants wide receiver at 5. Like, for the most part, Charger fans, we want wide receiver at 5. And this is kind of how I look at it. Like, yeah, trust me, I know how awful the wide receiver room is. I know.
So we're starting technically 2 starting wide receivers, 4 in total.
Let's go 1.5. 1.5.
Okay.
A lot of people are comparing this Chargers team to the Bengals team right before they got Jamar Chase, and I just think that's absurd. I think it's ridiculous to think that we're just a stud receiver away from going to a Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah. You know how well Keenan Allen did last year, if you're making that argument?
Yeah.
Like,
boom. Right there, Everett. Boom. Okay. Like, if you just think that bringing Harbaugh in now is being like, boom, playoff Super Bowl.
Does make a substantial difference when your coach is aware of what's going on.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Massive upgrade.
Grant, not get who's the worst head coach? Adam Gase or Brandon Staley? We're talking Jets. I'm too biased. We're talking Jets era Gase, not Dolphins. Jets era Gase.
I know. I'm just thinking, Gase, did he have Darnold? Was that his quarterback? We're gonna have to go Staley then. We're gonna have to go Staley. We're just gonna have to. Like, you have Justin Herbert, dude. Like, come on, bro. Like, you have to be better. Like, you cannot be rolling out a consistent bottom 5 defense in the NFL. It's atrocious. It is awful. Like, in Justin Herbert's first 3 years, most points scored through his first 3 starting seasons NFL history for a starting quarterback. Most points given up by a defense for a starting quarterback in his first 3 years in NFL history. It's like, all right, can we try to prevent touchdowns? At least give an attempt. But the Bengals, they had so many pieces around just Jamar Chase. Okay, like, they actually were a wide receiver away from competing. They also already had a T. Higgins, a great wide receiver in the room. They also already had Tyler Boyd. Adding Jamar Chase gave them the best wide receiver trio in the league. If we draft Marvin Harrison Jr., we might have one of the best potential wide receivers, but we're not even in the top 50% of wide receiver duos in the NFL if we just drafted Marv, okay? So, like, hey, long-term play. Do I think the Chargers are going to win a Super Bowl this year? No. Am I necessarily sure they're going to do it next year? No, not exactly. So maybe from that angle, go take Marv now, try to get other pieces. But I'm more on the side of there are so many pieces that need to be addressed on this team because of Tom Telesco's just incompetence that we need to address this stuff. If we don't address these positions of need, it's like it doesn't matter if Herbert and Marv connect for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. It won't matter because we're still good. It's like USC offense. Okay, we might score 28, but we're giving up 30. So yeah, like if we got Marv at 5, I'd be so hyped still. I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna be hyped. So I love Marv. But if I think, how do we win a Super Bowl? The goal in the NFL is to win a Super Bowl, not make the playoffs, not consistently contend. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. Does drafting Marv get us there closer, or does trading down and addressing the positions of need, which gets us closer? I think it's trading down. That's just my opinion.
I mean, no, I agree with that. In a general sense, like either way, you know, the only situation which you probably trade down is if Marv went at 4.
If Marv is there at 5, like a king's ransom is needed to trade.
Well, here's the thing, you know, in general, if
you
Marv is there,
the Vikings are like, screw it, trade up to 5. Marv hasn't been drafted, and they just take Marv. The greatest wide receiver duo in NFL
history. Trio. Don't disrespect Jordan like that.
Yes. Trio. Shit. Like, I was just looking at the top 2 names, but oh my God. Yeah. Jordan, sorry, you're running slot now, bro. Sorry. Like, we got dogs. Sorry, dude.
I'm just, you know, the only way that it happens is if Marv goes 4. And in that situation, to me, in general, if you could either go Neighbors, you could go alt, but if you want to go alt at that point already over Neighbors, you should just trade back, because I think the difference between those tackles is so small compared to everything at like the value. It wouldn't make sense for you to stand pat. Like, I don't think Joe Alt is the Quentin Nelson archetype for the tackle, like, or like Trent Williams, where
he was like, very inconsistent last year. Like,
he is the next Hall of Fame. Like, he's not, like, he could end up in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be good, but like
I'm trying to think of just recent.
Eric Fisher was the number 1 overall pick in like 20.
It took him a while to really break in and like be a cornerstone.
You know, I think that no matter what in that situation, getting capital is going to be a more important deal. We'll see what the Chargers do. Maybe if it's a new era, they'll trade. If it's not, well, Grant, I hope you love Joe Alt, because that's what would be happening. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I like Joe Alt as a player. I do. It's
just, at that point in time, though, if Marv went 4, the Vikings are fucking panicking, giving you everything that you want and more to move to 5, because the fact that the Giants are at 6.
No, that's where, yeah. Like, let's say the offer on the table today, like, hey, it's on the table. You could take it whenever you want. Let's say the offer on the table is like 11, 23 and like a future second. I don't know.
Don't have that. But.
Oh, shit. Okay. Like, I don't know, but I'm guessing shit right now, 11, 23 and a future first on the table, and Chargers are saying no. Is that kind of what's going on?
I don't know. I'm assuming right now the board is 11 and 23, and then they're just gonna. I think the most substantial package that the Vikings probably have given is probably right now it's either those 2 firsts and like a third or something, or maybe a future second, or it's
like, so let's just say like
it might be the 3 firsts.
Okay. Like, if that is the case and the Chargers aren't budging, then I still kind of think there's a chance on draft night the Chargers will be like, okay, we'll take it. Like, I still think that could be there, but I wonder if the Vikings are doing like, hey, 11 and 23 and like, I don't know. Like,
if they give a Godfather trade,
something like that.
If they do a Godfather trade and they do 2 this year, first next year, first in 2 years,
Chargers can't say no. But I think it would be a little.
And if that's the case, if that's the case, I'm expecting JJ McCarthy to be the next fucking Tom Brady mixed with Patrick Mahomes.
No, like the only way
Because
I
also
think
at that point, by the way,
actually,
that's how much it would cost to get probably Herbert. So
I'm thinking like for the Vikings to do that, like give up all those picks that you just mentioned, it's like then that to me that means Justin Jefferson is telling the front office, JJ's my quarterback, or else I'm not coming back. Like I have no other explanation they give up that much because that's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, you never know. The quarterbacks this year, like those top 5 quarterbacks this year compared to next year's, it's interesting.
And if it were like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I still think priority number 1 right now is Justin Jefferson resign. And like,
yeah,
who knows?
Like
the
problem with that not
says,
having because
hey,
no,
I
here's
want
the
Bo
deal.
Nix at 23. It's like, okay,
Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson he's been informed on everything that's going. Like he's had a voice in all these decisions and all this stuff regarding the quarterback.
And
like,
he deserves it.
Yes, and he should. So I'm not necessarily concerned. Like with that, whatever outcome happens, I'm assuming he's going to be fine with it. The interesting thing is going to be one when he gets his contract signed. If it's not before the season, then things get really scary. The second thing is if the Vikings, because this is also another like this is a possibility. There's been rumors about this also being an option the Vikings are thinking about. They don't go quarterback in the first round. We don't have a second round pick, so that would mean that the first row of quarterbacks are going to be gone no matter what. If that happens, one, they're probably playing for a quarterback next year, which is not great. It's not indicative of what the Wolves probably want to do. It's not indicative of Vikings football. That's probably out of the ordinary for us. But that also means those second tier quarterbacks and the GOAT, Michael Pratt, and Spencer Rattler, those guys are going to be drafted by the Vikings in a spot that typically people haven't expected them to do that. They haven't been expecting them to be, hey, let's draft a quarterback round 3. Let's draft a quarterback in the 4th round. Like that's going to also change the late rounds. So, the other thing I was thinking is, let's say the Vikings do trade the first this year, first next year.
Okay.
If the punishment is the Falcons giving up their first next year, the Vikings could trade all that and still have a first next year.
All right, I just Googled 2025 NFL draft big board. Just looking ahead. Right now, the Ohio State University, guess how many first round players they have projected and how many top 10 players they have projected for next year?
5 and 3.
You actually hit that right on the head. 3 in the top 5, or 3 in the top 10, 5 in the first round. There's no way that happens. I'm going to say that now. I don't think that's possible unless they win a ship. But right now, the first quarterback projected to be taken next year will be at pick 26, Curtis Rourke, quarterback out of Indiana.
The first quarterback?
The first quarterback taken next year is projected to go number 26 over. Obviously, things are going to change a lot. Okay, obviously things are going to change. Yes,
because Dylan Gabriel, Shador, and Quinn Ewers are all worse than him.
They got Cam Ward at 45. They got Shador at 49. Jerry Bohannon or Gary Bohannon from BYU at 51. Quinn at 55.
Okay, so just stop.
Mario
just
at
stop.
63. Mario Williams, your guy, your dog.
Yeah, I got it.
Just make.
Where's Miller? If Miller has an amazing season.
Not listed.
Miller, first quarterback off the board for next season. I'm telling you.
They got Tyler Van Dyke as a late 3rd. That's how you know we're not looking at the same. But yeah, the quarterbacks next year are not quite the same. So we'll see. I'm kind of shocked to not see Luther Burden up there in the top. I think that's absolute stud. But okay, final closing thoughts on this draft. Anything?
I think the question is going to be how many trades are there, and the shape of the draft comes out of who ends up with JJ McCarthy. That's the ultimate question.
Because I'd say right now, draft kind of runs through.
Now Arizona. We haven't even talked about the possibility that Marv goes 3. Like we haven't talked about that possibility.
What if New England takes Marv at 3?
Like that, that changes a lot of things too.
And then there's some Patriots fans who would prefer that.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought that's a good idea. But I it's going to be interesting where JJ goes. That's going to determine the draft. I do also think that there's a couple guys that I think are very close to locks, assuming that they're there. But no, I mean, this draft is every year it become more and more observable that it is impossible to predict what the fuck is going on. The closest thing you're gonna get is Peter Schrager will be releasing his final mock the morning of
Is he a mock expert or is that just the Super Bowl picks? I wasn't aware he was
both apparently.
I wasn't aware he was good at mocks. Okay. Okay, I'll take a look.
But he puts mocks the morning of the draft. So if you want like the closest thing from what he's heard, I'd go and check that out. But
like,
I mean,
real quick, just going on that Patriots thing, like if you're the Patriots and you can confirm that Michael Penix will be there at pick 34, kind of love Marv at 3. I kind of love Marv at 3.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know if you can confirm.
No, you can't. No, you can't confirm anything in this league.
At that point in time, like I said, if he moves past the Raiders at 13, Patriots are a team that would trade into those 20s to go and get Michael Penix.
Yeah.
So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, listening, rate us 5 stars. You can find us on Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and on Instagram at Waterboy You can follow me and Grant on Twitter at Everett and at Waterboy Grant. We post new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, normally on YouTube and all podcast platforms. So make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We post new TikToks every Tuesday to Sunday. So make sure to follow us there for exclusive content as well as on Instagram. With that, we will see you guys in our next episode tomorrow. Waterboys out.